Tim, we have a dire emergency!
Good morning, Bill. What could possibly be wrong?
Yeah, so, inflation has kind of been hitting us. You know that, prices of everything have basically gone up.
Yes, of course. We've been really trying to do everything we can to make sure our profit margins are still reasonably high.
Yeah, our profit margins are starting to slip right now.
What? This is bad. Oh, this is very, very bad, Bill. How much profits have we already lost?
About 2%.
No, Bill. This simply cannot do. We cannot afford to lose this much money. We have employees to pay. We have bills to pay.
Tim, we have to figure out how to get our profit margins back up. We can't afford to lose this much.
I don't suppose you'd have any suggestions, Bill, because I am just trying to figure out what prices we should finalize the 14 lineup to have this year.
Wait, you still haven't decided on pricing for the iPhone 14 yet?
Deciding on that has been an absolute pain, Bill. We've been trying to figure out what we should charge the regular lineup at. So far, I've been thinking because many people have already despised the fact that inflation is hitting hard, we probably could keep the prices still at $700 and $800.
No, Tim, we can't do that. We can't do that. You see, the trick is because we are losing all this money, we'll basically pull more from our customers. You see, we've got enough fans that everyone will pay more for our phones anyways. Then we've got these new headlining features with crash detection and satellite connectivity, life-saving features. These are features that people will totally want to pay extra for. We can afford to charge extra and they won't mind paying extra for these things.
Oh my god, Bill, that's absolutely genius! So what prices were you thinking?
How about we start the 6.1-inch iPhone 14 at $800? Well, with the carrier lock and such. And if they really want that unlocked, then we got to charge them an extra $30 for it.
That sounds great! What about the 14 Plus, though?
I was thinking with the 14 Plus, $900? I mean, also, just think of how seamless this lineup is. 14 is $800, 14 Plus is $900, 14 Pro is $1,000, and 14 Pro Max is $1,100. Doesn't that sound perfect?
Oh, it's absolutely genius, Bill. I love it. This is so perfect. We can absolutely do this.
I know it is, right?
Bill, for this idea, I am honored next year to give you a raise of an extra 2 cents per year you work here.
Oh yes! Thank you, Tim! Thank you!
Let's begin.
Alright, so yeah, the iPhone 14, it came out and it's exciting. Well, sort of. The pros are a little more exciting if I'm being honest. Despite that, I still am not a fan of the pill hole. Dynamic Island is cool, but I do not like the pill. It's worse than the notch. But we're not talking about the iPhone 14 Pros today. We're actually going to be talking about the regular iPhone 14, the 14 and the Plus. And it's because I don't know if Apple realized this from the get-go, but they kind of created a little problem with the iPhone 14s. And as a smartphone, for the regular everyday customer, which is that market that the 14 and 14 Plus are attempting to cater to, it's great, except for one factor about it, which to my surprise was really overlooked. It's the price tag. Yeah, I know prices for everything have basically gotten more expensive. I am very shocked that the Pro iPhones didn't get any price hikes at all, to be honest. But I am very grateful for that as well, because, I mean, seriously, who wants to pay more for their stuff? Okay, no price hikes in that regards. But in terms of the regular 14 lineup, it technically did. Some people try to say, no, there wasn't a price hike because the 6.1-inch iPhone starts at $800, just like it did last year. Yeah, well, if you count the fact that there's two different screen sizes, smaller and bigger, the smaller one this time around starts at $800 and not $700. In my eyes, they technically got a price hike, and here comes the main problem. It's actually with the 14 Plus and the 14 Pro. Both phones have their own sets of advantages, like for example, the 14 Plus, bigger display compared to the 14 Pro. And yes, I'm not talking about the Pro Max, I'm just talking about the regular Pro. So yeah, the 14 Plus has a bigger display than the 14 Pro, Pro. The 14 Plus also has a better battery life because it's not consuming as much power as the 14 Pro is, considering that it has a 60 Hz display, a bigger battery, and, well, fewer cameras to power when you're actually using the camera system and all that. Yeah, it may not have a more efficient chip, but, I mean, it's got a bigger battery to compensate for that. So, yeah, technically, the iPhone 14 Plus has a better battery life than the 14 Pro as well. I guess if you buy with a carrier and such, you can save $100, though most people are probably going to buy that thing unlocked, and unfortunately, you're only saving $70, which I don't know where Apple decides to actually choose these prices. It's dumb in my opinion. But that's kind of the issue right there. $70. This is unlocked. Yeah, sure, if you get with the carrier locked and such, then yeah, you can. The price difference is technically $100 difference. But when you get it unlocked, they feel the need to charge an additional $30. I don't know why. And that's just the problem right there. The prices are way too close to each other. Like, it's a $70 difference. If I were a regular customer shopping, whoa, this phone is way better than this Plus phone for like $70. I'll pay the extra $70. It's really not making sense in the lineup right now. Now you might be thinking, well, why would the average consumer decide to pay the extra $70 when for the longest time, like with the 10R and the 11, those phones, and well, also the 12 series as well, 12 and 13 series, there was still a plenty big enough reason to actually stay with the regular models compared to the Pro models. With the iPhone 10R starting up, there was a $250 difference between the 10R and the 10S. When we upgraded to the 11 series, believe it or not, that gap actually got bigger. There was a $300 difference between the iPhone 11 starting at $700 and the iPhone 11 Pro starting at $1,000. Very big difference, which really compelled most average users to actually stay with the 11 series and not go to the Pro series. It made sense why that regular series sold much better compared to the Pro series. Even though, yeah, the difference isn't that much with the 12 series, well, actually, to my surprise, the Pro series actually sold better than the 12, and I'm not entirely sure why, because there wasn't really that many differences between the 12 Pro and the regular 12. Even though, yeah, there was a $200 difference, and it was a rather big difference. Oh wait, maybe the storage the storage configurations probably did it. By the time you actually upgraded your iPhone to have the same storage configuration as the 12 Pro, kind of made more sense to actually jump ship to the 12 Pro. Maybe, but I'm not entirely certain what everyone's buying decision was. Oh, and then the 13 lineup. Why did not many people get the 13s? Because I have actually seen more 13 Pros than 13s out in the world, and I'm betting the reason for that is because the 13 Pros, to be more specific, actually got that big of an improvement. Like 12 Pro, yeah, it was cool. I was kind of interested in it a little bit, but not that much because I don't really do photo stuff. I do more video stuff than I do photo stuff. It was the 13 Pros that really got me pumped and excited because not only did it get a massive photo improvement where you could personalize your photos, like do you like them to be a little more vivid or flat or a little brighter, such different photo styles. That was the headline feature. But also ProRes video and cinematic mode. Those were such game-changing features in terms of camera performance that, yeah, I can understand why more people wanted to go with the Pro version of the 13. Who knows what that was? I guess the Pro phones were actually that good to the point, or who knows, maybe the 10R and the 11s were actually that good that those people who upgraded to those phones, they actually wanted to stick with them because, I mean, I tested out a 10R a little while ago, back when I was getting ready to trade it in for this current phone that's recording this video. I have to say, despite that it did have some age because it was a used phone, I mean, it worked just fine. The A12 is nothing to complain about. I mean, I still got my XS Max here, and the A12 works just fine in this thing. Battery health is still amazing. I mean, what else can you complain? These phones have aged very well. And this is the XS and XR series with the A12. And yet those phones, honestly, are still rocking just fine. If you have one and it's still working just fine, keep using it. I encourage you to. Those are rock solid iPhones. And that could be another reason why, well, the regular series has not been selling well altogether. But this year, I think it's going to be an even harder sell because, well, the phones have gotten more expensive thanks to inflation, and I guess they justified this year's price hikes because, well, there's no more mini option anymore, because now we have a bigger option with a bigger display and a bigger battery and such. We have to accommodate for that with the prices and such, so maybe that's their justification. But in terms of the customer end, I don't think it's going to help convince them to upgrade from the 10R or the 11s, because when I tested those those phones out, they're still rock solid, and the people who are using those type of phones and would want to go to the 14s, they probably wouldn't care. They would probably rather continue using that 10R and that 11 because they made them such rock solid phones these days. Sure, there are some enthusiasts who, don't go for the pros because they don't really need all the pro features, but they love having the latest iPhones, or they're on the contract, so because they're on the contract, they'll upgrade to the new iPhone anyways. But for the people who buy their phones outright and use them for a long time, with these price increases, I think the 14 is going to struggle. And unfortunately, this year I really wanted the 14 Plus especially to do well because I love big screen phones, and evidently that was how many people had voted with their dollar last time around. People really care about the bigger screen options when it came to the iPhones, because I know 12 mini fans and they really loved it, and I'm sure people with the regular 12s, they probably would have loved the mini anyways, although they probably cared a little more about the battery and such, so they continued to pay for the regular 12s and 13 size. So yeah, this year is going to be a bit of a mess when it comes to sales. I'm really hoping that the 14 Plus does well this year. It's the new form factor, it's also the bigger screen, because I mean, especially when it comes to comparing the regular Pro to the Pro Max, Pro Max typically sells better because, well, us pro users, we care about bigger screens, we care about better battery lives, and to regular consumers, battery life is another thing to upsell them on. It's something that they don't even disregard as well. Cameras, they will want to say the camera should be better than the last phone. They will notice that, but the things that they will always care about when it comes to upgrading to a new phone, battery life, that is the number one thing that often gets people, regular consumers, to want to upgrade. The batteries just degrade to a certain level that becomes unusable to the average consumer, and that's what gets them to upgrade, basically. Because of that, I'm hoping the bigger form factor does better, primarily because of the battery life and the bigger display, which are something that plus-sized phones have generally done well. And the typical reason why people don't go for the plus size is, I've asked people about it, why do you not go for the plus size? Most of the time, it's just the cost. And unfortunately, this time around, because the 14 Plus starts at $900 with carrier lock, and if you want to go unlock, it's $930. That's a tough sell compared to the 14 Pro lineup, and that's kind of sad if I'm being honest. So I'm a little scared about the 14s because they're not really priced all that well. The 13s are incredibly similar. They even got the same chip, even though average consumers, they don't really care about that. Yes, you can at me all you want about that. The average consumer does not care about what chip is in a smartphone. I've talked to so many users, iPhone users and Android users, including those who have bought in budget phones. Do they ever care? The answer is always
no.
They never care. My family doesn't care about what chip's in their smartphone. Even my grandpa, who's a technology enthusiast, he does not care what chip is in his smartphone. And honestly, I think it's because we don't really use our smartphone chips for all that much. Like, the most intensive things we actually do on our smartphones is camera stuff. That's pretty much it. So yeah, nobody cares about the chip in their phones. It's really only a tech enthusiast type of thing, and there's even a bunch of tech enthusiasts that don't even care. Despite that the chips are similar, they won't care about that. That's not going to be a differentiating factor between the 13s and the 14s, or the 14s and the 14 Pros. What are the differentiating factors are the cameras, the screen size, well, actually not really the screen size because they're both lineups offer the same options. Refresh rate, if they do care about that type of stuff, and basically camera features, and well, yeah, I suppose battery life. I mean, the 14 Plus may have a better battery life than the 14 Pro, but I believe the 14 Pro has a better battery life than the 14, and the 14 Pro Max also has a better battery life than the 14 Plus. Oh geez, I am constantly rambling. Pretty much the problem with the iPhone 14s. They're way too close in price to the 14 Pros, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what phone sells the best this year. I'm very curious about that. So, do you have any thoughts about the sales of the 14? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is DeWolf, Random Alpha, signing out.